Greetings, my good friends, and welcome to the EIB Network and the Rush Limbaugh program here on Christmas week. That's right, my friends, we are here. You may be on the way over the hills and dales to wherever you're headed. You may be where you were headed. You may already be there. And I'm here. It doesn't matter where I'm him when here is here, because I'm here and it doesn't matter where that is. We'll be here today and tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, to help get you where you are going. Our telephone number, if you want to be on the program today, 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. President Obama was on a golf course when he was told about the two New York City police officers that were murdered, assassinated, gunned down in cold blood while sitting in their police cruiser. And according to reports, the president went back to the golf course after calling the New York City police commissioner and the mayor and whoever else to express his heartfelt condolences. I guess playing golf is how Mr. Obama deals with heartbreak and distress. Other people just riot and loot. But Obama heads back to the golf course. But I take it back. It didn't just head back to the golf course. He actually did condemn the New York police killings. And in doing so, he called for patient dialogue. Yes, my friends, in a statement on Saturday night, unconditionally means there's no excuse for it. Unconditionally, no matter what you tell me, I'm still going to condemn it. After condemning the shooting deaths of the two New York City police officers, the president said two brave men won't be going home to their loved ones tonight, and for that there is no justification. The officers who serve and protect our communities risk their own safety for ours every single day. They deserve our respect and gratitude every single day. He went on to ask for a rejection of violence and words that harm. Well, there's a place he might want to start then, and that would be in his own house. I have a great story here found on Ricochet. It is it's a website by a man named Stephen Miller, and it's called The Extraordinary Life of Barack Obama's Imaginary Son. In his life, Obama's imaginary son has been shot at, concussed out of football. His imaginary son has been racially profiled, yet Obama's imaginary son keeps picking himself up and carrying on. Obama's imaginary son should be an example to us all. No matter what kind of imaginary circumstances we find ourselves in, we can continue on with our imaginary lives because Obama's imaginary son is showing us how. President Obama should also look inward and ask why his imaginary son continues to put himself in these situations. Perhaps it's also his own failings as an imaginary parent. The President of the United States seems much more comfortable citing the struggles of his imaginary son than the privileged successes of his real daughters. In truth, Obama's son would have attended private school in Chicago, just like his daughters. He would then be attending Sidwell Private School in D.C., just like his real daughters. Obama's imaginary son would get his pick of any college in the world, just like his real daughters. His imaginary son would then go on to any career he chose in medicine, law, Hollywood, Wall Street, or owning an NFL team, not playing on a game or on a team, just like his real daughters. But that doesn't fit the divisive racial narrative, so Obama's imaginary son continues to live the hard-knock life. And Obama's imaginary son lives with another imaginary Obama character called Mr. Straw Man. Between Obama's imaginary son and Obama's Mr. Straw Man, his good friend, you know who Mr. Straw Man is. Mr. Strawman is the guy that talks to every economist from both sides of the aisle and concludes that all of them agree with Obama. or the straw man is a guy who is claiming to say things that nobody's actually said. The Extraordinary Life of Barack Obama's Imaginary Son. And now the president has called for patient dialogue. Not dialogue with patients in the hospital, although that might help, but patient, as in let's not hurry this. Let's sit down and let's be deliberate and open. Patient dialogue. You know who he wants dialogue between? I mean, what is dialogue? My friend Andy McCarthy had a really robust piece on this Saturday National Review. Maybe it was yesterday. Saturday or Sunday National Review online. What is dialogue? Dialogue is a conversation between two legitimate sides that have opposing views. You sit down and you talk about it. But the key to dialogue is that both sides are legitimate. We're supposed to have dialogue with the cop killers? How are they legitimate? But that's what Obama's saying. Patient dialogue with who? The cops are supposed to sit down with who? I don't care. Folks, look at, despite all the protestations and all the people literally throwing their hands up and saying, not me, not me, instead of don't shoot, don't shoot. They're all throwing their hands, not me, not me. They've all got blood on their hands. The mayor of New York City, blood on his hands. The Reverend Al Sharpton, blood on his hands. Everybody who has encouraged this kind of behavior on the part of average citizens against the cops, and we can't deny that it's been happening in social media, it's been happening on television. Every one of these people has blood on their hands. Let's review, shall we? According to President Obama, white cops are racists. We knew this from the first term, when his buddy Skip Gates was arrested by that idiot cop or dumb cop, wherever he was, in Cambridge. We've also been told by President Obama, I'm just going to remind you what he said. You might be discomforted by this, but the president told us that surgeons are actually butchers who just do unnecessary work for the money. A tonsillectomy here, an amputation there, as a means of justifying himself running America's healthcare system, because the surgeons, well, they're out there doing unnecessary things. Remember that. Shop owners, such as the woman in Ferguson, Missouri, whose little cake store was leveled and destroyed in looting in the aftermath of the grand jury decision in Ferguson. Shop owners didn't build their businesses. You didn't build that. You did not build it. Elizabeth Warren's out telling them that the people who built their businesses really didn't. The president, Elizabeth Warren, anybody else, the Democrat Party is out telling everybody that'll listen that the successful really aren't successful, that they really didn't do it, that the successful are just clever parasites living off of thievery, trickery, or what other kind of ill-gotten means in order to screw people out of their money. But they didn't build that. Their businesses would not have been possible without the hard work of the victims who are their customers. People have been hearing this kind of thing for 6 years, folks. And the kind of people we're talking about it have believed it for 6 years. Police officers, doctors, shops, they're not real. They're Norman Rockwell icons, but that's not really America. America's not really made up of wholesome families, and it's really not made up of happy people, and it's really not made up of idyllic scenes, because life in America is torture, and life in America is stress. Life in America is one trauma and one crisis and chaos after chaos. We are told this, and we are told who's responsible for it. The Koch brothers, Mitt Romney, me, talk radio, Fox News. Anybody successful is blamed for the misery and unhappiness of everybody else. Where is the hope in that kind of change? Where is the change in that kind of hope? There isn't any hope in Barack Obama's agenda. There is deceit And there is revenge. There is, they bring a knife, we bring a gun. Don't I remember Obama lecturing his buddies on that one, Mr. Snerdley? Talking to his union buddies back during the early days of Tea Party, they bring a knife, we bring a gun. That's the Chicago way. They put one of ours in the hospital, we put one of theirs in the morgue. Chicago way. Good people are being hurt by this agenda. Good people are being hurt by liberal. And now we're told that we need to have dialogue, patient dialogue. As though there are two sides to this story. Two legitimate sides. And to the people we're talking about, this is exactly what's wrong in the country. There are. And there is legitimacy on the side of the guy who killed the two cops. There was another cop killed, or attempted to be killed, one in Florida, was killed. And there were designs on another cop in the Bronx. That one didn't come off. And we're told that we need to have patient dialogue here. As though, and before that, we're a nation of cowards. Remember that? Eric Holder, we're a nation of cowards because we don't have the guts to honestly talk about race, i.e., dialogue. When that's all we do anymore. The national conversation is consumed by race. How many Americans do you think went to vote in November of 2008 and voted for Barack Obama for one reason? It's African American, and they hoped that that change would signal the end of racism, because they hoped that the very act of this horrible, unjust, and immoral country finally electing an African American would finally put the notion that we still are deeply racist behind us and demonstrate that we're not. How many people do you think voted for Obama for that one reason? I would say enough to get him elected. And, of course, all that's happened is things have gotten worse. And for the NYPD, folks, it isn't over. We are all headed in an accelerated pace for anarchy. That is where all of this is headed. The primary agents of this anarchy are militant Islamists, militant civil rights coalition types, the new Black Panther Party and ancillaries. And who are their enablers? The Democrat Party and the American left. From college professors to pop culture false idols to elected Democrats and, of course, the media. The left has and is, I believe, and I really believe this, and I'm not using a single word for exaggeration purposes. I really believe that college professors, these pop culture false idols, elected Democrats, the media, literally are making their followers, i.e. base voters, insane with rage and anger. I don't think there is any other conclusion. Average, ordinary Americans who otherwise just would be going about their lives, as challenging as that is on a daily basis without all of this, are being converted into angry, filled with rage beyond reason mobs. People are not born this way. They are trained, they are educated, they are manipulated, they are conditioned. Hate takes a lot of effort. Love doesn't. You either love somebody or you don't. You can't go out and fall in love just because you want to, and you can't fall out of it because you want to. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any love songs. But hate, that's easy. Much easier than love. And a lot of people think it's the other way around. A lot of people think that hate is harder because it takes applied effort. And that love, it's positive. Isn't that love, real love? I mean, beyond familial love, the love of bond, that's one thing. But love of others, that's much tougher than hating them. Hate can be manipulated, love can't. Well, wait. I maybe want to retract that in certain social circumstances. The ebb and flow of men and women. We all know that there's manipulation there. But my point is that hate has to be taught. Hate has to be nurtured. It has to be manipulated and expanded. And it is happening. But there's something else at the same time, the counterbalance to all that. I mean, it's always been the case. There's nothing new about it, although it's more intense, I think, than ever before in my life. The purposeful manipulation and creation of literally insane, angry mobs. The counterbalance to all this always has been us, folks, people like you and me. People that know where the guardrails are and want to live within them. But way too many people like us have been destroyed with character assassination or worse. The bottom line for that, beyond what it means personally, is that no credible opposition to this anarchy exists. It's been a two-pronged attack. The left is in the process of destroying all moral authority in once reliable institutions. Have to take a break while you ponder that, because that's just the tip of the iceberg, as they said on the Titanic. Coming back, and of course we'll develop this even more.